Nearly 500,000 people have signed a Change.org petition demanding that First Lady Melania Trump either move into the White House with her husband or reimburse taxpayers for the cost of providing security for her at Trump Tower. Although the petition claims the cost is exorbitant, it's hard to know exactly how much taxpayers are spending. The Secret Service's budget is not public, but the New York Police Commissioner recently said that it costs the NYPD up to $146,000 a day to protect the First Lady and the couple's son Barron at Trump Tower. The city is asking the federal government to reimburse those expenses. Meanwhile, the president is currently golfing at his club in Virginia, his 14th golf course trip in the 10 weeks since he's been president. Kristen, Yashar, Michelle, and Fernand Amandi are back with us, and Fernand is actually joining us for the first time today. So I'm going to first come to you, though, Kristen, on just the hypocrisy of the golf. Donald Trump was tweeting madly when President Obama was in office, saying, "When will Obama go on the next vacation if he wins the election? The day after. Our wonderful president was out playing golf all day. The TSA is falling apart. President Barack Obama's vacation is costing taxpayers millions." I mean, on and on and on. And now he's golfing every weekend.
It is a little bit difficult to stomach, especially, and Democrats did this with George W. Bush. And, so this is a political tactic. But I think that for his image, right, because everything that's going on right now with the Russia investigations, with his legislative policy agenda, he should be looking, okay, how does this look to the American people, especially so many of those who are, are not of, high, weren't wealthy, right, that voted for him. So it would be better for him strategically to be back in the White House and to show that he's really driving policy and serious about this if he's concerned about his image.
And Michelle Bernard, you look at the calendar that shows the weekends that he's been at Mar-a-Lago, the third, all the way through February, all the way through March. I think Trump's core base doesn't care what he does. He could, essentially do whatever he wants. He said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. I believe that is true. But there are still Republicans who ran for office, or there are still Republicans who live in districts that Hillary Clinton either carried or came close to carrying. And there are independents. Independents exist, and some of them voted for Donald Trump. How does this make him look to them?
I think they really have quite a quandary on their hands when it comes to Donald Trump and the money that they are spending that we as citizens are spending to keep him secure as he travels around the country to play golf. It's kind of funny, that there's that saying, "What's good for the goose is good for the gander." These were all the things that they complained about President Obama and frankly about other presidents. It's a fair complaint, I believe, when it comes to the president. I don't think that the country can do anything about it, and what we really need to be focused on, quite frankly, is the budget and where money is, where they're proposing budget cuts, and that sort of thing. When it comes to Melania Trump, I got to tell you, I really believe that it is inherently anti-feminist and anti-woman for anyone to believe that they should dictate how she decides what is best for her life and what is best for her son. Maybe the public complaints will get the Trumps to cough up some money when it comes to, security that the city is spending on taking care of her, but she fully has a right to decide where she wants to live and what is best for her life and how she's going to conduct herself as the First Lady. It's no one's business, just like it was no one's business when it came to Michelle Obama's decision to bare her arms or wear shorts or, focus on childhood obesity and eating healthy.
Well, let's get into that a little bit, because Fernand, we've talked about this before, the idea that, the First Lady of the United States is essentially is refusing to live in the White House. But not only that, but her husband's travel is costing not just New York. We talk about New York a lot, but you're down there in Florida, just Mar-a-Lago at all. We talked about the budget. Politico's estimated, based on the General Accounting Office, based on reporting on a similar Obama trip, every trip that he takes to Mar-a-Lago costs $3 million. Florida has to pony up a lot of that. Palm Beach itself, from a New York Times report, $200,000 in lost fuel sales at a local airport because they can't use it. 75 no-shows at a restaurant in just one night. $60,000 a day in overtime. 250 private flights. So, you have the right of the Trumps to live the lifestyle they want, and then you have the cost these communities have to bear.
Well, first and foremost, Joy, let's not blame the First Lady, because would you want to live with Donald Trump in the White House and be stuck with him? I certainly wouldn't. But look, the fact of the matter is the predatory payday loan presidency of Donald Trump continues. And just like in any good con, and just like in the payday loan industry, lots of promises of easy money, convenience, and happy talk until the sticker shock kicks in and the fine print kicks in. And it's in this case, no different, Joy, as you point out. Let's look at the numbers, because the numbers are rather compelling, in my opinion. $150,000 nearly a day, which translates to about $50 million a year, just to keep Melania at Trump Tower at taxpayer expense. And then these golf trips, the gall of these billionaires and millionaires who like to brag about how much money they have, yet the public has to foot the bill for their travel. We've got nearly 6 trips. We're not even 2.5 months into this presidency, hitting on the $20 million mark. Yet at the same point in his presidency, how many trips did Barack Obama take? 0. And Donald Trump has the stones to say that Obama needed to get off the golf course. Joy, it's just the con of a presidency. It goes on and on and on.
And you start, I mean, to the point, I mean, Michelle makes the point that we shouldn't criticize the First Lady for where she wants to live. However, the choices she's making do impact the taxpayer, right? So Michelle Obama did Let's Move, but she raised money from private entities like Walmart and Nike to get behind that program. The Secret Service has put in a request for an additional $60 million just for next year alone. $28.6 million of that is just to protect Melania and her son at Trump Tower. Yeah. Is there a fairness issue here? And should the Trumps reimburse maybe the taxpayer for these costs?
I think it gets difficult when you ask someone to reimburse, because the only 2 people that are required to have Secret Service protection are the president and vice president. Sure. It would be a national security nightmare if a grandchild or a child or, the son-in-law of the president was kidnapped or injured or hurt in any way. There should be no concern on the federal side with respect to budget. There should be concern as far as the Trumps are concerned, to be mindful of what they do and don't do. One of the things that Michelle Obama got a lot of flack for was her foreign travel. Well, it turns out at the end of the term, she did less foreign travel than Hillary Clinton and Laura Bush. And she was mindful of those costs. And the Trump should be mindful as well. Does he need to go to Mar-a-Lago every weekend? Absolutely not. Yeah. Does she need to take a separate plane down to Mar-a-Lago as opposed to meeting him in Washington and taking Air Force One, which is already moving down there? Right. Yes. Yeah. Those are the kinds of things they have to be careful about.
I mean, what do you make of this argument that is sort of, I mean, there's the 2 separate things. There's the Trump loving to go to golf every weekend and the optics of that and the cost of it. And then there's the Melania living situation. Your thoughts?
Right. I tend to agree that, Melania Trump, I agree with Michelle, has the ability to do whatever she needs to do. Now, I live in New York City. I live just around the corner from Trump Tower. So I would agree that for my convenience sake, that it would be great for her to live down there. But I think that the American people really want them to just focus on getting things done, right? Everyone can scream politics. This is what we do. We talk about the fact that they're golfing, and, Republicans were so critical of Michelle Obama and Barack Obama for playing golf. It's like, let's trim the fat here. Let's talk about stuff that actually matters, because it's those kinds of conversations and complaints, honestly, that make Americans tune out. They get apathetic about politics. They don't vote, and they have this just animosity toward Washington, instead of saying, okay, how can we work with our government? Let's call our senators. Let's feel like we have an efficacy to affect our lawmakers.
But Michelle, at the same time, there is a let them eat cake sort of aspect to this. I mean, this is a family that lives in a literal golden tower and that is asking for our sympathy because they don't want to all have to be forced to live in the 240-year-old house. I mean, there is an aspect of it that it seems unfair that the taxpayers should have to pay for their lifestyle. I mean, even if you want to feel badly for the situation that she has with wanting to keep her son here, we're paying for this.
Well, the argument that I would make to the Trumps, like if I were an advisor to Melania Trump, one of the things I would do is say, go back in history and just look at what other first ladies have done in order to deal with these type of issues. Jackie Onassis, she went out and she raised monies privately to be able to do all of the renovations that she wanted to do to the White House. There has to be a way, given all of Donald Trump's allegations about his wealth, assuming that it's there, to be able to deal with this and reimburse the taxpayers in New York for the security of his wife and of his son. My only point is simply that no one has the right to tell Melania Trump that they know better than she does where she should live or how she should raise her son. All of the issues around, the fiscal appropriateness of this, I absolutely agree with, but I think that there is a way for the Trumps to be able to take care of this, and if Donald Trump were smart, he would do so. All of the allegations that he constantly made about Barack Obama are going to be thrown back in his face, and when it comes re-election time, if he makes it through the following 4 years, he's going to have to contend with how he spent the nation's money.
Yeah, and Fernand, is there any, Donald Trump won Florida, but is there any discontent at this point with the amount of money they are spending just on their lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, there is a contempt for the process, a contempt for the people in this flagrant disregard. You know, again, on one side of his mouth, he talks about saving the American taxpayer money and the efficiencies and all the winning he's going to bring. But the truth of the matter is, it is a massive inconvenience. The people of Palm Beach County alone are already talking about not only the costs involved, but the quality of life issues. And let me get back to the fundamentals on this. This is a conscientious decision made by the president and the First Lady. I take exception with some of the comments on the panel. These are people that know what they're doing, they know the implications, and they do it anyway because they don't care. I find that contemptuous of the American people and the American taxpayer.
Yeah, and we just had these financial disclosure forms, Ishar, that show that Ivanka and Jared, the son and daughter, the daughter and the son-in-law, they're beneficiaries of about $740 million in real estate investments. You have the other sons traveling on business with taxpayer-funded security. This family is living quite well on the taxpayer dime, and Donald Trump still has not made a commitment to not take his salary. He said he was going to donate it back. We have no sign he's going to do that.
Yeah, and he asked the press corps for, I don't know if you remember that, for advice on where they should donate.
Where should it go? He should ask April Ryan. He apparently asks her for all the advice.
So, you know, this goes back to the mindfulness issue. You know, the Trump sons have a right to be in business. They have a right to go do business, but they should be mindful of their travel if they're going to travel with the Secret Service, because there's advanced teams, lots of expensive hotels. They're not staying in cheap places, and it costs the taxpayers a lot of money. By the way, there's an easy way to sort of calm this down politically for the White House. Admit that they were wrong, which they're never going to do. But any other administration would say, you know what, President Trump, you don't know what the job is like until you're in it. And now he recognizes why you need to go play golf and why you need to get out of the White House. By the way, every president should go play golf. Thank God. It calms them down.
And by the way, Camp David running empty. I think you might have tweeted this.
$8 million a year.
Because he ain't using it.
Because he ain't using it.
Thank you very much, Kristen Haglund. Welcome to the show, new friend of the show. Yashar Ali, Michelle Bernard, and Fernando Mondi, longtime friends of the show. All right, thank you guys all.